Yeah, welcome back to the Business Boost Show. We got a guest today, Nick. Before you introduce yourself, and I'm not going to introduce myself, I'm gonna let Suhail jump in here and tell people about himself. What's up, Suhail? What's going on?
Hello, Therman. Hello, Nick. Yeah, I'm Suhail, and I am a freelance consultant for Microsoft 365, Microsoft Teams. I help small businesses, get used to using the platform and get the most value from their investment in Microsoft 365 and Teams. So I've been doing this for about 2 years now, and it's going pretty good. And you know, being invited to this show, I must be doing something right. So
Yeah,
yeah,
no doubt.
that's about me.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, Suhail is a great follow on LinkedIn. You know what I'm saying? Make sure you check the chat for the links and all that. Nick, do you want to do a quick intro?
Yeah, if you don't know me, I'm Nick DeCourcy. I don't usually sound like this. I have a sore throat today, so I'm not going to say too much. I'm the owner of Bright Ideas Agency. I'm a digital transformation consultant who focuses on the needs of smaller businesses.
Nice. And I'm Therman Trotman, owner of the SharePoint Help Desk. And you can check, once again, the notes for that link. What we do here on this show, right, is we like to talk about tech, but we spin it where we talk about business. And today we want to talk about AI, the hot topic that's been hot for 12 months now at this point. The other day when we were on LinkedIn, Suhail found a post. Who was the post by again, Suhail? The original person?
From Steve Mordew.
Okay. And it was about AI, right? Now Suhail, you know what I mean, with his post, he was like, yo, listen, before you even get this thing in place, don't jump out the window and think AI is gonna solve your problems. Now, Nick commented on that, and Nick was saying, like, in theory, this is true, but at the end of the day, the reality is like, yo, businesses are not gonna have these things in order. They can still jump into AI. I immediately was like, listen, we got this. This deserves more than the comment section on LinkedIn. We got to talk about this. So here, let me ask you first. If you could give us some more detail about what you thought, what you posted.
Yeah, absolutely. So my thought was, something that I was also have been thinking, but I saw that post from Steve, and Steve is like, an OG in this space. He's created his own version of Dynamics 365 called Rapid Start CRM, just using, because we all hear, right, Dynamics 365 is built on the Power Platform as a model-based app, but he's kind of like went one step ahead to actually prove a point and say, I can build it too using the same technology, just that I don't have as many resources to, build as much as Microsoft can. So he's a guy, he's an OG in the space, and he usually, has pretty solid thoughts on things. So I saw that post from him, and he was saying as to why you might get a better ROI in getting your basics right. Because what I'm seeing is there's a lot of AI, but then AI also, you need to learn what tools are, there's 10 different AI tools, what tools for what purpose, and still, it's something that's still maturing. Microsoft is only releasing Copilot for like 300 plus seats. Today, they announced that they are releasing it to education tenants. And surprisingly, Microsoft sells their education licenses at a steep discount, and they've not sold, they've not given any discount for Copilot, even for education tenants. It's still $30 a user, minimum 300 seats, and all of that. And immediately I went to the comment section and I see, oh, Microsoft wants it only for private schools and for the rich and privileged. And, that's that type of commentary. So it's also that. So AI also at this point, a lot of the tools do require significant investment, versus imagine like if there's a spreadsheet based process, and this is what you do all the time, Thurman, in your workshops and things like that, just getting them to use SharePoint lists and views and filters. So even like 2 days ago, I had a customer who was using they had 3 Excel sheets. It's really the same data.
Right.
So they have a new client onboarded, and then they want something to be, it's a waste disposal company, so they wanted to get the bins delivered once they've been onboarded into the system. And then once the bin has been delivered, they wanted to put them on a list for like weekly routing. So they had 3 different sheets, and all they needed was 3 different views in SharePoint. I'm like, you don't need 3 different sheets. And it was like 2-3 hours effort, and they were ready. So, and that project costed them like what, like $500 or something,
Right.
and just including like understanding their requirements, building it, enhancing it, and training their staff how to use it, all in all, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, so there's a lot of easy wins. I hate to use the common term low hanging fruit, but that it is what it is. There's so much easy stuff that you can do versus jumping into AI, buying all these tools.
Yep.
And again, even if you buy those tools, you also have to learn how to prompt the AI correctly, because if it's as they say, garbage in, garbage out. So
Yep.
there's still a learning curve. There is investment to be made. It's not AI would do everything for you. There's still investment to be made, one in the licensing in the tools, then you have investment in learning and how to use those tools correctly. So it's the same with any other tool. So you already have other tools like SharePoint list, Dataverse, Power Apps, low code tools,
Yep.
which also give you a good return. So if you're still using spreadsheets to manage your business processes, I kind of feel like that's the first thing that you must invest in, is to just move your spreadsheet based processes to either a SharePoint list if your business process is very simple,
Mm-hmm.
and if it's slightly more complicated, you want column level permissions, etc., you could probably do a Power Apps based off a Dataverse or some kind of a SQL database or something like that.
Yep. All right. So now listen. So Nick, before I go to you, what Suhail is saying, let's say for instance in that garbage situation with the waste management company, right? They are doing things on spreadsheets, and Suhail is like, if you're dealing with multiple spreadsheets for your process, you need to relax before you just think, oh, look at this cool new thing, AI, we can like improve everything we're doing. Suhail's position is, yo, before you even get to that point, get that spreadsheet chaos straightened out first, and then start thinking about AI. But Nick, I believe you're saying more so that, okay, maybe this waste management company has these multiple spreadsheets, but it's okay if they jump into AI, they can get some stuff done. Is that your position?
Fundamentally, what we're seeing in the AI tools that are becoming available, and that's not just Copilot for Microsoft 365, that's Copilot or Bing Chat, ChatGPT, Claude, all these different examples that are out there. Is there a fundamentally different type of tool than the other stuff that we're talking about? In that, if we get Suhail to go into a business and build a solution for those 3 spreadsheets, it fixes the problem for those 3 spreadsheets. It doesn't fix the problem for the other 3 spreadsheets that another manager in another part of the business is using.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't address the fact that you've got an employee who particularly finds it difficult to keep up with their email. It doesn't address the issue that you have an employee who has to do a lot of research and synthesizing data, and that's what's taking up their time.
Mm-hmm.
We build these solutions, and they're good solutions, and we should be doing that. That's the way that we should be approaching technology change. But we also need to be thinking alongside technology change of changing how people are working and trying to use tools to do their work. And I think it comes down to who is the tool directed at. I can build a Power App that addresses a problem. That's pretty easy to do.
Mm-hmm.
But can I enable a group of people who are using that Power App to become citizen developers and address their own problems as easily? No. But
Mm-hmm.
can I give someone access to ChatGPT and give some idea of the types of work this might help them with, and give them the option of saving 5 minutes a day, saving half an hour a week? And it's those 5 minutes here and half an hour there that are going to enable people to step out of the whirlwind of everyday work to
Right.
start to acknowledge these other issues. In every situation, Suhail, where you're helping someone, it's because they've had to acknowledge that they have a problem that is worth their
Yes.
time to fix. And a
Right.
lot of the problem when I talk to business owners, it's not that they don't know that these things that they're doing are clunky or inefficient, or there's probably a better way of doing it. It's just they don't have time today, and they don't have time tomorrow, and they probably don't have time next week to even start to think about addressing it. And I see AI as that fundamentally different type of tool that can go to where an individual is at to help them start to save that time to address these other concerns.
Right. Yeah. I'm with you. If I'm in Suhail's shoes and somebody's coming with me with a problem that I know this is their business and just this part is what I'm going to fix, I'm going to fix it because you can't go wrong with that. But on the other end, what you're saying, I see that as more the reality where businesses are. I mean, I have never dealt with a business that I can remember that had their stuff together. You know what I'm saying? On the baseline. You know what I'm saying? And that's not even like I ain't even trying to play them. You know what I'm saying? I mean, literally, I can't. I'm sorry. I do have a company right now who I'm supporting that has a pretty airtight process. They're pretty damn good. I don't know how I forgot about them. You know what I'm saying? But they're a small team. It's easier to work with that when you got a smaller team, and it's easy to get things get everybody on board. But I see it more so. The reality is like that, Nick. You know what I mean? Where like a lot of businesses don't have their stuff together, and they're just trying to they feel like it's like sprawling, and so like whatever they can fix that's most important to them, that they'll take the time out to be like, hey, this thing is a problem, we need to get somebody in here or we need to fix it. You know what I'm saying? So I get it. I get that. It's not like it's human nature almost to just ignore those things that are not bothering them so much and then go and fix the other things. Now if we're talking about something like a car, maybe a car is a different, not even maybe, a car is a different story. You can't drive the car because you got flats. You know what I'm saying? But you want to get like some tints. You want to put some tints on the window. You can't put no tints on the window until you fix your damn flats. You know what I'm saying? Because then you're putting tints on your window to make your car look nice, and you can't drive the car. You know what I'm saying? So it's I get it. The reality is more so we're dealing with people, and you know my thing, people over technology, and people will do that thing. They'll do the I'll fix that later, but ooh, look at AI. I want to get this thing
Yeah,
in there.
I think that's a really interesting analogy there, Thurman, because I do think that within our technology focused community, it could feel like that sometimes of um, you don't have your data in order. Oh my God, that's the worst thing ever. You need to get that in order. But
Mm,
there's no small business that's going out of business today because of their Excel spreadsheets, like maybe on the edge cases that there are, but there are people struggling through. Like from my perspective, it's more to do with the struggle that people are having to do their work every day. It's the whirlwind that they're in.
right.
And it's not like you have a flat tire that's stopping your car from working, but
Hmm.
maybe you have pretty deflated tires that are meaning you're not getting good fuel economy.
Hmm.
Right.
And I think it's more like that. And you need to have that fuel economy. You need to have fuel in your tank to even get to the point of saying, I'm going to go out and I'm going to find someone like Suhail to help me with this problem.
Right.
And I would say probably, Suhail, when people are coming to you, they have already identified that they want someone with skills like yours to help them with something, right?
That's actually not true, Nick. And, a lot of this comes again about the awareness. And that's why I feel like, this is an area that people don't have awareness about. Whereas with all the marketing and the hype around AI it's everywhere in everybody's feeds, that they become aware of a tool like AI. Whereas there's a tool like SharePoint, there's tools like Power Apps that are not as popularly known to people. So in a lot of the cases, Nick, the people that come to me, they'll say, oh, I want to use Microsoft Teams because a lot of my clients are using Microsoft Teams. I'm actually using Google Workspace. And, if you use Google Workspace, you're using 10 subscriptions, Slack for messaging, then Google Drive and Gmail for your email and documents. Then some people don't even like Google Meet. And then they are also subscribing to Zoom, and they're paying for like 5 or 10 tools. And there are some people who are actually pro doing this. They're like, I want to use the state of the art tool in every single discipline, and my business is heavily consulting based, and I want to use Zoom because that's what my clients like. And there are businesses who happily pay for those tools, especially if they are small size consultancy practices. practices, but there are a lot of people then who also realize, this is all siloed. I have my meetings in a different tool and I have my documents in a different tool. It's all over the place. So this is mostly the incentive for people who reach out to me and say, I want to start using Microsoft 365 and I want to use Microsoft Teams. And when I do a migration and I actually transfer their data from whatever they're using into Microsoft 365, then I tell them, are you using Zoom? You could also not just use Teams for like chatting and documents, but you can also use it for meetings with your customers. And, did you know that there is something called SharePoint list, which can be used to simplify your spreadsheet based processes? And I usually have built some use cases which are for my own business. For example, I have a lookup list, one list with all my customers, kind of like a CRM, and another list called Invoice Tracker, which looks up my customer data from my customer list. And as soon as I do it, there's a Power Automate that fetches a Word template and adds in all the metadata as my invoice, and then sends an invoice to me to review and approve. And if I like what I see, then I hit approve. I add some comments, an email goes out to the customer with those comments. And this is something I demonstrate as, an example of how you can do. So I have like 2-3 demonstrations that I have created. And when people come to me for migrations or for anything else, or for training in Microsoft Teams, I show them some of these extension use cases than just say, hey, this is where you can send messages in Teams, or this is where you can, create meetings. I also show them what you can do in SharePoint list, how you can use bookings and forms and Power Automate, all of these things, how they all come together. And once they see that, they're like, oh, I can do this for my business, or I can do this for my business. And I feel like Microsoft or any other companies, they're not really promoting that or marketing these easy solutions as much as they are, because of course they're incentivized, because even if someone's not using SharePoint lists or not using bookings, they're still paying for the Microsoft 365 license.
Mhm.
So there's not so much of a financial incentive for Microsoft to really promote all these tools. That's where I see Therman doing a lot of promotion about how they can use SharePoint to automate a lot of the processes. I've seen your videos on YouTube showing businesses how they can simply use bookings and stop paying a ton of money to Calendly. Of course, Calendly has some additional functionality that bookings may not have, but 90% of the businesses don't use that extended functionality anyway. So, but Microsoft, I don't think they market this as much because there's not financial incentive, versus when there's AI, they are able to sell additional licensing, or Chat GPT is, there's a Chat GPT Pro, so there's a financial incentive. So I feel like it's not so much that the businesses don't invest, or they come to me after knowing that there's a problem. It happens more when I show them that there are solutions possible, and they're not even aware that that anything better than Excel exists in the first place.
Right.
And when they come to know about it, oh wow, this is amazing, let's do this and let's do that, and they're more than happy to invest their time. So I think it's really an awareness problem, and I don't think I think it's less than 1% of Excel users know of a solution called SharePoint lists and how it can be better than Excel for certain process-based use cases. Of course, Excel is Excel, and for complex reporting and advanced formulas, and it has its use case. But for business processes, definitely SharePoint list is a far better solution. And of course, there's Power Apps and other things. It's just that the businesses are not so aware.
Right.
This is one thing. The second thing is also, I feel like the internal IT of a lot of organizations, right? They probably have a help desk, and then they have your developers who are developing their business applications. I feel like in a lot of organizations, the middle layer, kind of like a level 2, enabling the users to use these tools and doing the trainings, that level is kind of missing in most IT organizations. And that's why shadow IT exists. That's why people come to me, and they don't have someone in IT that can help them with a simple compose expression. So that's the reality
Yeah,
that
the reality
I
is they go to Google,
experience. Yeah.
they go searching for things. Nick, you any response to that?
Well, I think that's an interesting perspective, because I think what sits in the middle of that is a lot of the time the type of thing that I'll hear is our finance system isn't working for us. Our CRM system isn't working for us. And that'll be the start of a conversation about how things work within an organization. And a lot of the time, what I'll see is it's not that there's anything wrong. You might have a slightly older CRM platform. You might have a slightly more cumbersome, older finance platform that was good in its time, but isn't the most modern thing that you'd see today. But essentially, it does exactly the same thing as a tool that we would deploy today without a few bells and whistles. So it's not that the platform isn't working for the company. A lot of the time, it's that the company isn't making that platform work for them. And I
Right.
think that's what we see with Microsoft 365 as well. But I think that while there's a big technical component to that, there are technical solutions to that. I see digital transformation as being 20% technical and 80% people.
Oh,
You
now
have
you singing, you preach to the choir now. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah,
Why not?
you have to get people's minds in the right place, and you have to work out what are the blockers that mean that they've had this platform for whatever type of work it is in place for years, and yet they're still walking around with a folder full of papers.
Mhm.
What is the situation that they've got? They've got this great technology that could be working for them, but their office walls are still covered in whiteboards that they're updating every day.
Mhm.
You have to get to the bottom of those questions. And I think that while there's important technical solutions, this is all to do with people. And
Yeah, I agree.
the more that technology continues to intertwine with everything that we're doing, the more relevant trying to come with solutions to people rather than solutions to technology, in my mind, is the best way to make everyone feel included and to get the best results in the long term.
Yeah, and the other thing too, like to Suhail's point, right, and about what you just said, is there's a lot of us. Like Suhail built his own CRM, right? He's able to do that because he understands the technology, but he also sees the need for a CRM in his business. You know, we're all business owners here. I don't have a CRM, not up until a few days ago. And people would ask, "Can I build a CRM on SharePoint?" And I'll be like, "Nah, you don't want to do that. Just go and get a tool that will do it. They specialize in that. Just go do that." But in my case, again, I'm like Suhail. I understand the technology, and I'm a small business owner. I'm running my own business. So I went the other day and built a CRM that now I can start to do the things that Suhail is talking about. And now to your point, if you start to, if me and Suhail start to grow our companies, and you as well, Nick, because you have the same thing. We start to grow our companies. It is on us, people, to bring folks in when they get hired and make sure that they understand these new processes that they're going to be working with inside of the business. The businesses that you're talking about, like where you go and sit down and you talk to them about the finance system that you mentioned, it's never a one and done. It's never like, oh, we just need to fix this finance system and everything is going to be great. As you talk to that customer more and more, you find out, oh, well, wait a minute. Other people are involved in this process. You find out there's some things that they don't do anymore because it's kind of annoying and they just left it out. But they keep doing certain things because when they first did it, hey, that's the way we always did it. You just find out mad layers, a bunch of layers of things that they're doing that have brought them to this point. But the constant to what I'm saying is that there's always people. We're in charge. We run our own businesses. As we start to hire people, we can say this is the way we do things, and that can keep doubling, and we keep doubling and keep doubling, depending on how big y'all want to grow your businesses. I'm not too excited about getting a whole bunch of people. Saying, but I will say that as I bring people in, that's how I'm going to train them. It's like, yo, listen, we use SharePoint lists, you know what I mean, to track our information. If it needs to get complicated, like I talked last week, Nick, then we go to Power Apps. You know what I'm saying? We have the tools inside of our business to do what we need to do. Now, to that point, you were mentioning earlier about how you were named like a HR, like you got nominated for something in the HR world. And the reason I'm talking about this is because again, with this whole, we own our businesses, so we're business owners, but we're also technical people, so we understand how to include the tech. We're multifaceted and all that. You know what I'm saying? So in your case, you're a tech guy talking to businesses, but you got nominated for some HR situation. What is that all about? Like, why?
So on LinkedIn this week, a company that I'd worked with earlier in the year, Team Flect, had a list that they put out of 18 HR influencers to look out for in 2024. And they put me on this list. And I was pleased that they'd put me on the list, but I was kind of scratching my head a little bit because I'm like, well, I don't class myself as an HR influencer, but
I was thinking, what happened? Like,
yeah.
did Nick change the industry or something?
but then I was thinking about this, and I think that the thing is, like, do I put out HR content? Well, yeah, I do put out HR content. I put out content specifically about how to use tools to do interviews better. I put out tools about stuff about recruitment. I put out stuff about people management. So I think that a lot of this comes down to context of what are you making the technology relevant for? Because technology isn't this thing on its own. I think a lot of people think about it as, you have your IT department and they do IT and that's it, and everyone else does their own thing. But that hasn't been the case for decades at this point, like realistically, in terms of how we're
Yeah.
using technology. And the more that we can think of technology as being deeply integrated into every step, I was saying, Suhail, you do a lot of, you put out a lot of LinkedIn content about how to make sure that marketing emails that you're sending actually get to where they're supposed to go. Without having any detrimental impact on your domain. I have to admit, this is an area of technology I haven't looked into deeply. And so I don't understand a word of what you're writing about, but I'm sure it's great. So anyone who's watching this, if you're interested in that, please don't come to me. Please go to Suhail. But the point is, could you be on a list of people who are influencing the marketing industry because you're helping people in marketing roles to get their job done? And I think the answer should be yes. We are technology people, but we are also the people who are holding the hands of those who are doing other jobs to lead them through these things where they have to engage with technology to get their job done. They don't have the choice anymore.
Right.
And we're helping them to do that.
Suhail, you agree? You see it that way?
Yeah, absolutely. But for the most part, it's sometimes things are connected, right? So, for example, as someone who's dealing with Microsoft 365, email is an integral tool in Microsoft 365. Even before Teams came about, Exchange Online always existed. And deliverability is one of the things that you work about in making sure you have your SPF records straight and all of your DNS settings correct, and make sure you're not sending too much spam and your spam complaint rates are in control and all of that. That's really part of Exchange Online, and it's just an extension of that. Okay, now if you don't want to follow the rules and you still want to send emails to people that are not expecting your email, you have a chance that they may mark you as spam. But there are people who just go and buy off a list of 10,000 email addresses from some agency and then knock it out of the park in one day. And then they're like, oh, my invoices are not going through to my customers because, you did something stupid.
Yeah.
And, Google doesn't like you anymore. And it's so hard to then repair once that damage has happened, because it's like you got to stop the campaigns, you got to get a bunch of customers to report you as not spam, and you kind of have to be like the really good boy. It's almost like when you come out of prison, people are going to look at you with suspicion, and you've got to really prove that you're a changed man now, right?
Don't
Before
do
they let you in
spam,
the house.
kids. Just don't do spam.
Right.
You're going to go to email prison.
Yeah. I like that though. I like that us as tech guys, like, we've always been, doing what we do either in a company or wherever, and providing technology support. But a lot of people in tech are not considered to have, you know, the ability to talk to people as well. You know what I'm saying? Like there's actually a whole position,
Mm.
a business analyst who would play the, the liaison between the business and the developers. So that's a whole position. You could build a whole career off of knowing how to quote speak developer and also speak business. This is something new I learned a few years ago. I didn't even know that was.
Oh yeah, my wife has that job. They
There you
call
go.
it business
A
analyst, and
business
they
analyst. Yeah, exactly.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
it's really a thing. But with the rise of the internet and commoditizing technology and all that other stuff, people who weren't tech people before now find themselves, dabbling heavily in tech, and people who were tech people before find themselves dabbling heavy in communication.
A lot of the content as well, right, that you see in all the Microsoft community, etc., it's all about, oh, how to solve this particular expression or how to code this. And it's really, I would say about 80 to 90% of the community contributions are for other technical people, and there's very little content to spread awareness and just talk about how you can use the technology and apply it to actual real life business use cases.
There's this weird acceptance of you have a job where your primary tool is your PC, and that's your toolbox, and what's in that toolbox is Microsoft 365. There's this weird acceptance of having very few skills in using those tools
Hmm.
that exists for people in those kinds of roles. That if you were to take that same model and apply it to anything else, if you were to apply it to people who build houses, it just wouldn't work. Like, people have to understand how to use the tools that they have at their disposal for the best purpose that they can for the job that they're supposed to do.
Hmm.
And I feel like this is something that's starting to change. Coming
Thousand
back,
percent.
coming back to our first topic, I think that AI could potentially be a strong enabler to start to change that, because I think it's what we've
Mm.
got to change. We've got to have people who are, in general, inquisitive about doing better with the tools that they've got.
Yeah, I really hope that is the case as well, Nick, because when they see, okay, AI can do this, so tools can actually enable us and make things easy. What other tools are out there, and that might trigger that inquisitiveness, and there's probably going to then result in more awareness about other tools as well that they can potentially use, like SharePoint lists or Dataverse or Power Apps and whatever else is out there. Yeah, but overall I feel like we're kind of skipping one layer because but I hear your point. At least they're aware of some technology, and now they see how technology can help enable things, and then maybe that makes them think, okay, what other technologies out there that we might potentially use. And yeah, hopefully that's definitely, I hope that is the case. Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. Listen, now before we get out of here, Suhail, you want to tell us what you got coming up? Where people, well, we know where people can find you. They're gonna find you on LinkedIn, but anything special you got coming up or you want to promote?
Not anything specific, Therman. So I do migration. So if someone wants to move away from Google Workspace and explore the Microsoft 365 world, I'm happy to have a chat about that. And if you're already using Microsoft 365 and they need trainings and how to use the tool better and how to automate things, and want to have a discussion about that, I'm open to that as well.
Good deal. And the best way to reach you is what? Like hitting your DMs on LinkedIn?
Yeah.
All
Yes,
right.
absolutely. Yeah.
All right, good deal. Nick, what you got?
So I've just added a new resource on my website. There's now an on-demand webinar there, which is linked
Hmm.
in with the content in my new book, "Who's in the Co-Pilot Seat," which is a guide for small business leaders on AI adoption. And the webinar is an overview of a lot of the topics that I do cover in the book, not in the same detail, but it's a good primer for someone who's interested in
Mhm.
this topic from the point of view of what kind of impact might AI have on small businesses and what should you be thinking about in that context. So if you're interested in that, head over to the website. You can watch it whenever you like. It's an on-demand webinar. And if that's of interest to you, then head over to Amazon to get a copy of the book as well.
Good deal. Good deal. See, more of this multifacetedness. You wrote a book. You got that webinar going. You know what I mean? And you're a consultant. You know what I'm saying? Like a tech consultant. This is a great world. This is a great time to be alive.
And he's the best dressed.
Now I will say, y'all know I got a monthly webinar, and this month I'm doing another one. It's about documents. So December 20th, 6 p.m. Eastern. We'll have the link inside of the chat. Come there. It's gonna be a good time. I might have my Santa hat on and all that. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna talk about documents in in SharePoint, because whatever you're doing in Google Drive with your documents and Dropbox, I'm gonna prove to you that it'll be better if you move it over to 365 and with SharePoint. So that's what I got going on. Again, December 20th, 6 p.m. Eastern. The link to sign up will be in the description. And Suhail, thank you. Nick, as always, thanks. This was great. Good seeing y'all.
Thank you. Thanks
Thanks
both.
for having me, guys.
Take care.